Protests abounded. Last night, good morning, everyone. This is Montana Morning. Here it is Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It's cloudy and 19 degrees. In Missoula, we've got bare and dry roads, no moisture in the last 24 hours. Our newscast this morning sponsored by Missoula Nissan Hyundai. Drive the adventure in the big store on Brooks, the largest selections of Nissans in the state. Yes, that was just one of the slogans chanted by a small group of protesters outside the Denison Theater on the UM campus last night as they opposed the appearance of conservative Speaker Mike Adams, who appeared on Talkback yesterday. Maria Cole, widow of Jeffrey Cole, for whom the lecture series was named, said before the event she hoped an open and honest dialogue could be achieved.
I'm hoping that this sparks really great conversations, that what happens tonight, the good, the bad, or the ugly, that we walk away and really start talking to each other, even though we may have very distinctly different points of view. I think what's most important is civil discourse, respect, open debate, the ability to really converse with each other and have open dialogue.
One of the protesters outside the venue was first-year UM law student Austin Wallace, who was adamant in her opposition to Adams' appearance.
Today we're here to protest Mike Adams because he is a renowned homophobic, racist, misogynist, columnist, and professor who has a history of writing incendiary and inflammatory, derogatory, the list goes on, statements and columns about hating women. He's very anti-Muslim, and he just really, I think, is antithetical to the values that we value here at University of Montana.
There was an extraordinary law enforcement presence both outside and inside the event, with UM police officers, bomb-sniffing dogs, and attendees being wanded with their bags and backpacks checked. Adams spoke about the death of liberalism on college campuses and held a Q&A session afterwards. The Montana Supreme Court says statements a woman made to a doctor while being treated for injuries suffered in a domestic assault case were admissible during the perpetrator's trial. Aaron Porter of Belgrade is serving a 15-year prison sentence for felony aggravated assault for the August 2014 attack. He appealed, arguing his constitutional rights were violated when the emergency room doctor testified the woman reported being thrown against the wall by her domestic partner and strangled twice, causing her to think she was going to die. The victim did not testify, and Porter argued he was not allowed to confront his accuser. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports the Supreme Court ruled last week that the woman's statements were made for the purposes of medical diagnosis or treatment, and such statements are an exception to the hearsay rule. At a recent U.S. Senate hearing, Montana's John Tester promoted the Blackfoot-Clearwater Stewardship Act, a plan to preserve 79,000 acres of public land.
The Blackfoot-Clearwater Stewardship Act protects 79,000 acres of wilderness for the next generation. Why is this important? This is the same kind of area that powers a $7 billion economy in the state of Montana, 74,000 jobs. This pristine land is near the Continental Divide, crown of the continent, home to grizzly bears, elk, moose. Well, you get the idea, okay?
Tester emphasized the importance of the compromise bill.
For those of you that know the situation, if 10 years ago, if you put a logger and a conservationist, environmentalist, and a recreationalist in the same room at the same table, chances are somebody was not going to come out of that room. But yet these folks had the ability to sit down and compromise and come up with a made-in-Montana solution for our federal forests.
Tester said the impetus for the bill was to, quote, help keep public lands in public hands, end quote. Montana's increased fuel taxes raised $6.2 million for road and bridge projects for cities and counties in the first 4 months. Missoula received $600,000. The Great Falls Tribune reports cities and counties were notified last week of the amounts available. They can request the funding beginning March 1st. The governments must have a plan to use the money and a $1 match for every $20 they're seeking. The Montana legislature last year increased the gas tax from 27 cents a gallon to 31.5 cents, and the diesel tax from 27.75 to 29.25. Lynn Zanto, Transportation Planning Administrator with the Department of Transportation, says next year cities and counties will have a full year's worth of increased taxes available. About one-third of the tax increase goes to the department for state projects. The budget deal passed by Congress last Friday and signed into law by President Trump is causing a bit of stir at the Montana Department of Revenue. According to spokeswoman Marianne Dunwell, about 90,000 people had already filed their Montana state income taxes before two major changes were implemented.
If you have in the past claimed the tuition and fees deduction and or the qualified mortgage insurance premium deduction, that you can claim them again this tax season. They had sunset, but what the Congress did late last week was they put these deductions back in.
It's about a third of the way through the tax season. Dunwell says they're working to make sure Montanans can use the extended deductions.
If you're in a small group of folks who typically claim these two deductions, what you'll want to do is file an amended return. Right now, the Department of Revenue is working on fixing that form, that tax return, so that you can file your amended return. If you use software companies are also busily working to update their products.
Dunwell said the average tuition and fees deduction in Montana is about $145, the average mortgage deduction about $84. Over the last few weeks, there have been multiple fatal snowmobile accidents in Montana and in Wyoming. KGVO News spoke with Chris Dubeck, who is parts manager at Gull Boats and RV in Missoula, asked about snowmobile safety, starting with the right riding gear.
Warmth is key, usually something in a waterproof, windproof, Gore-Tex maybe type situation as far as a suit, pants, bibs, jacket, that kind of stuff. Always goggles, helmet, gloves, and usually a backpack of some sort with some safety equipment.
Dubeck said the main concern is avalanches, and special equipment is a key to survival.
Your three basic requirements as far as avalanche equipment goes would be an avalanche beacon, a transceiver which either picks up and or sends your position, a shovel, and a probe. You got to pay attention to the conditions and look at your avalanche report, make sure you're well equipped, and first and foremost, just make good decisions about where you should go based on the conditions.
Gull Boats and RV and other outdoor recreation retailers offer an avalanche rescue class at the beginning of each season. Finally, Jesse Royer is a four-time champion of Montana's Race to the Sky sled dog race. The Independent Record reports Royer crossed the finish line of a 300-mile race at Lincoln at 7:23 Monday evening with 10 dogs. In 1994, at the age of 17, Royer was the first female and the youngest musher to win the Race to the Sky, which was a 500-mile race at the time. Royer lives in Utah, also won the race in 2015 and 2016. She was Rookie of the Year in her first Iditarod Trail sled dog race in 2001 and finished fifth last year. She plans to compete in the 1,100-mile race from Anchorage to Nome again this year. Our News Talk time, 6:12.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station. Mostly cloudy to cloudy skies today with afternoon snow showers. We'll see our temperatures